I will show you to how to use the mirror script. So we have a basic scene here. I have just baked lightning for these static objects, and we have some real-time lights here. So you can see a spotlight here which throws shadows of this cube, and we have a point light here, and you can see both of them is creating the shadows and lightning, etc. in real time. And we have some baked light here under the cars, etc. And we have post-processing stuck here, so you can see some bloom, etc. just applied to the scene, and you can see the reflections on the cars, which are the reflection props, as you can see here and here. So there is nothing special here. We are using only just the Unity's standard shaders and post effects, etc. So I will add our reflective shader to this floor. So here you can see it's just a plane with a standard shader. So first of all, we will change this floor's material to use our version 2 mirrors material, and as you can see its properties has not changed, so it is using the previous properties. And I will come to our main camera, which draws the scene, as you can see here, and I will add let's jump to game view and we can see it. And I will select the main camera and add component and write shade, which this camera shade is our script. So as you can see, we have a lot of properties here, but the important thing is these affected objects and materials slot. So it just holds the 3D objects and materials which will use the reflection. So because on this scene I will just use this floor for the reflection, I'm setting size here 1 and just press enter, and you can see there's a element 0 is created, and it has 2 slots. First one is object to shade, and second one is material to change. And this object to shade is, as you can understand, this our floor object. So I'm just dragging and dropping this floor object to shade slot, and material change is our material which holds our mirror shader. So if you look to our floor and this material, floor forward material, so our floor is using this floor forward material. So I will select my main camera and come back to this material change slot and just drag and drop this material to this slot. And as you can see, there are some properties in the common section. This work type is reflect. On this version we are just using the reflect function. I will implement the others later, I suppose. And this up vector is the vector of the floor which looks upward. So if you select the floor, you can see this green Y vector is showing our reflection direction. So if we come back to our main camera script, and you can see this up vector is set to green Y. So because the objects may use different direction vectors according to import values, so you have to choose the correct vector here. And intensity is default as 0.5, as you can see, so it will just mix the floor's textures with the reflection texture. So we have set everything, so let's run and see if this works. Okay, as you can see, it just reflects our main camera, so everything just works. But as you can see, this texture quality is very low, so I will just pause this scene and just came back to our game view to see the reflection correct. So if you come here, this texture size is the size of our reflection render texture. So if you make it bigger values, the reflection will be better. So like 20 and 48, so you can see our reflection is just seems perfect and real time. And you can just play with the other values to get your correct reflection. Please look to the version 2 scene samples, or read this how to text, so what these properties are doing. But as you can see, this reflection does not using HDR or the post effects. So I will just stop the scene and I will set my texture size again to 2048, and I will enable the HDR. So this enables the HDR function of the reflection camera and will use the post effects. And you can just play with other values according to your needs. So I will just start the scene again. And now, as you can see, because the HDR is on, you can see the perfect reflections. I will just paste my previous values which I have prepared before. So intensity is the intensity of the reflection. As you can see, you can play with its value to create semi-reflective surfaces, or like these full mirrors. Run for every x frame is just a function that draws the reflection for every 10th frame. So what does it do? So let's continue the scene. So as you can see, the reflection is drawn for every 10th frame, so it is not real time. So you can use this function for your static cameras to gain some speed. And this load level just uses the mip-maps of the reflection, so you can just create blurred surfaces. This MSA is just anti-aliasing of the camera and works only in forward rendering. So you can just enable or disable the pixel lights. As you can see, if I enable these disable pixel lights, so you can see the points and spotlights lightning information just disappears from the reflection. And this shadow just enables and disables the shadow distance on the reflection camera. So if you enable it, as you can see, the shadows from the reflection just disappears, and you can just set the shadow distance. As you can see, it just fades away if you put small values, or you can just pass 0 to disable the shadowing from the reflection. And this curling distance just enables or disables the drawing spherical distance for our reflection camera. So if you increase it, as you can see, because the reflection camera just draws this spherical distance for this value, it just not draws anything on the scene. So if you increase it, you can see it will just start to curl the, will draw a spherical camera distance and will draw the only nearby objects. So if you don't want to reflect the very far away objects, so you can set it here. And we have talked about the texture size. The camera clip plane just does not work in this version. The plane offset just sets the offset of the reflection, as you can see. So if you have some lightning artifacts in the intersection of the objects, you can set it according to your needs, but most of the time the default value is enough for the reflection. And reflect layers, as you can understand, just exclude the layers from the reflection. So my cars are on the car layer. So if I disable this car layer, you can see the cars are just disappeared from the reflection. So if you have very complex objects in the scene, you can just exclude them here. And this depth just enables the depth checked for the camera. So you can just create depth enabled reflections, and this cutoff just calculates the depth of the reflection. So you can just create very small depths like this here, and you can change the physical appearance of the reflection. And we have talked about this affected objects and material slots. So if you add another material here, and you can just put another object and material to second slot, and the same reflection texture will be used on it too, but they have to be on the same coordinates or the direction, like the mirrors on the same wall. So you can gain performance for multiple objects. And this shader to run on final texture can be used to run a second shader on the reflection texture. For this version, we are using just blue shader for the second pass. So if you enable this pass and just attach a blue shader here, so you can see a second pass is drawn on the reflection, and you can get the blurred reflection, and these values just iterates through the x times on the blur, and this neighbor pixels is just used to mixing of the pixels according to drawing pixel. so you can just enter these values according to your needs. And this refraction just used to refract the surface, so you can get refracted reflections. As you can see, you can use a normal map to refract the reflection and just play this with this value to get a beautiful refraction effect. A wave just simulates a wave on the reflection, so you can create some wet surfaces, and it just uses a small animated refraction on the surface and the lightnings, so you can get a waving effect on the reflection. So if you mix this with masking, it just creates a wet surface simulations. So as you can understand, this masking just puts a mask texture on the reflection, so it just only draws the masked areas, so you can create a masked reflection on the surface. And this ripples just creates a ripple animation, but it's a little bit expensive on mobile platforms, so you may not use it on the mobiles, so it just creates a ripple simulation, so you can create rainy scenes with that. But of course you can just use this waving option to create rainy effects. So if you make this wave size smaller, and increase this wave speeds, so as you can see, it just creates a fake simulation of raindrops. Etc. So please play with the values to make your scene better, and you can just email me for everything you need.